Well, we're going to live in a time where there's going to be more competition for less resources until the budget issues are resolved. That means there's going to be less traditional federal funding, and certainly we're seeing already, we have seen the end of earmarks in Alaska. So that was the first thing that happened several years ago. The university does a remarkable job because the university was a beneficiary of a lot of different earmarks. We've done very well in the post-earmark world, becoming more competitive. We're still dominantly funded through federal funding, and we need to be more competitive, more strategic in the way we apply for grants. We have a very high success rate on federal grants compared to most universities, so we are competitive, but that you can't sit on your laurels because of that many more universities applying for less funding in the structure. So being more competitive, being more relevant to the questions that are being asked. It's not just, again, with fundamental National Science Foundation or National Institute of Health basic research. It's with the agencies on their applied research programs. And then it's with the state of Alaska. We're working hard on our capital budget, for example, in areas like salmon mortality, Chinook salmon mortality. We're working directly with Fish and Game, but we have a capital request into the legislature from the university. But before we put the request in, we worked heavily with the Department of Fish and Game to find research gaps that they have that we have capacity for. So finding those niches becomes really important. With industry, it's the advent at UAF and at UAA of looking at commercialization, looking at taking ideas and looking for commercial application. So our number of disclosures for commercialization have gone up tenfold in the last year as we formed the Office of Intellectual Property and Commercialization. So we're seeing a dramatic increase in interest in faculty. And quite honestly, we have a lot of valuable research results that could be commercialized. And by commercializing, I mean the university would get some of the money, the researcher would get some. But as important, the opportunity to form new businesses in Alaska and a new Alaskan economy, which then feeds back to support the university structure through the commercial pieces of it. Our work in unmanned aerial vehicles is an example where there's tremendous commercial application and we're one of the leaders in the country in using these small unmanned aerial vehicles and aerial systems. So as we move forward, our ability to model and predict change, like volcanic ash, is another area where there's a lot of interest in the reinsurance business and the airlines. Our ability to understand hazards and risks gets to the insurance, gets to as well as community resiliency. What things do you fix? What things do you not? In terms of building capacity to mitigate natural disasters. How do we build better warning systems? That leads to much more community resiliency, a much more willingness to solve the problems that would prevent someone coming from Alaska. Energy is another area. Again, we're a terrific opportunity for the state because of our huge energy endowment to solve our high cost of energy, our lack of energy infrastructure and grid, with an integration of renewables and traditional mechanisms. So our Alaska Center for Energy and Power is a world leader on the integration of wind and diesel, working on some leading issues on hydrokinetics so we can produce energy from flowing rivers for communities. We're even looking at areas like nuclear battery technology where it's appropriate. So a wide variety of non-traditional uses of energy. Biomass, sustained biomass in the new pellet industry, where we get relatively clean burning pellets and really high efficient stoves that can replace some of the traditional wood uses with a more effective and a wider distributed source of wood. But we have to make sure the forests, so we're getting these things, have sustainable ability to provide them. So as we look at all these areas, there's a huge opportunity that flows all the way from development of small businesses and in funding the university through more entrepreneurial approaches to being more competitive for the really high-end federal grants. And then finally, as a national research university, we want to we can integrate across a broad number of disciplines like we are in EPSCoR to solve really complex questions. So those partnership pieces and building integrated scientific capacity, not just a few people looking at part of an issue, extremely valuable. And so with sequestration coming from the competitive universities that can answer these questions, that can build the partnerships, are the ones that are going to do the best. Then finally, the agencies are going to have to decide how much core capacity they keep. I mean, they're in a tough place where they much of their budgets typically go for personnel. And they're going to have to make decisions whether they outsource to universities and partner with universities more to get more bang for their dollar, or whether they determine to not outsource and try to keep basic core capacity in their agencies. And we'll see some of both. But where there are partnership opportunities for us to work more closely with organizations and agencies, sequestration provides an opportunity. But overall, a tougher environment and a more competitive environment for those limited funds.